Artificial intelligence, it's everywhere and it's only getting more and more advanced. So how can we tell if something is real or fake, especially online? This afternoon, we have Lori Moylan here from Meta to go over some of the ways the platform is helping us spot a fake. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So first of all, I feel like Meta has been on top of this whole AI thing from the beginning, you know, the glasses and all the cool things that Meta has done. Talk a little bit about what Meta has been able to do with AI.
Sure. So you're right. Meta has long been investing in AI, both in our own platforms and also in other products we design, like the glasses. For example, one of my favorite tools that we offer is called Imagine, where you can go on and create the type of photorealistic images we're going to talk about today. And you can really let your creativity fly. So, I have 4 kids. The 2 youngest just think it's so incredibly fun to be able to, just think of a phrase, think of something they think is interesting, a rainbow that's raining Skittles on top of a cuddly bear, right? And put that in and get to see the results of their creativity.
So, I think a lot of people now are talking though, well, is this real? Is this fake? I don't know what to believe, things like that. Sometimes you look at something and you know, okay, yeah, that's AI. But how are you working with the industry partners in helping people identify what is AI?
Yeah, I mean, this is such an important thing. Here at Meta, for the things that we create with our Imagine tool, we do put on both a visible watermark that says, this was created by Imagine. And then there's also sort of inside the image, like invisible watermarks that, a computer or something could read. But when it comes to things that might be coming over from other platforms, if you go use a different AI image generator, then we wouldn't at first necessarily know that this image had been created by AI. And so we've been working with industry partners to try to establish, sort of common standards around these transparency mechanisms so that we can make sure that we can read when an image that wasn't created by one of our services was in fact created by AI. And then we will provide the additional step of putting a label on top of that image so that the people who are using our services, if you're scrolling through and you see a picture and like you just said, you think maybe this is a little too weird to be true, but also maybe it really happened. We want that label to provide you with the additional certainty so that you know how to think through the information.
Yeah, and I think a lot of users might be like, when it comes to politics and things like that, they see a certain video or a certain image and they think that it's real and maybe it's not. So what can users expect to see here in the coming months in terms of maybe those labels coming onto certain posts?
Yeah. So again, if it's a service where we're able to detect the watermark, we've been partnering with industry on this, and so if we're able to read that, then we will put an image on or a label on the image that says that this was created by AI. The tools around video and audio aren't quite as developed, and so one of the things we're also doing is giving people an option when they post something that is a video that was created by AI, where we might not have the same technical capabilities yet to do the reading ourselves. We expect the people who are posting that to, sort of check a box that says this was created by AI. So then we can also apply the label and people can have that certainty.
So in the coming months, users might be getting online, posting something. You all kind of say, oh, wait, is this real or not? And then that's when the user can check a box and say, this was created with AI.
Right. So we will expect people who are posting to disclose that when they're posting the video that this was created by AI. And if people repeatedly fail and are doing that for nefarious reasons, obviously there would be penalties for those folks. But I think it's important to point out that obviously most of the uses of this technology is just people having fun and letting their creativity fly.
Rainbows with Skittles coming out of them and candy and unicorns and all that good stuff. It can be a lot of fun. But with this technology, it does come some responsibility, and for all of us who are using these tools, we have to make sure that we are being responsible with them. So do you see in the future, even more technology coming into play?
Yes, certainly. I mean, we're working on developing additional tools so that if for some reason there was an image or a video that came from perhaps a technology that was, less interested in the same types of transparency that we are, we would still be able to read that because again, it's incredibly important to us to be able to provide the people who use our services with as much context as possible. So, we're working on developing these tools as are others across industry. And I would also encourage people to think about, you're totally right that anytime we're consuming information online, there is a responsibility that comes with it. We at Meta want to do our part by applying things like labels when we can. But also anytime people have questions about something, it's definitely, a best practice to, do a quick Google search, look around and see if you can find other people commenting on something. Or pointing out in a different place that this might be fake. There's sort of lots of ways that people can sort of practice good information hygiene. And we want to do our part by providing as much information as we can, but certainly encourage people, whether you see something on our service or somewhere else, to also make sure they're taking the steps necessary to verify.
Yeah, we got to be smart. We can't just believe everything we see. And as you said, use that, what did you call it again? Information hygiene? That was a good term.
Good information hygiene. Yeah.
I like that. So make sure that we are doing some research and knowing the truth from what is false. So, but we also thank Meta too for what you all are doing as well to help us spot, what might be real and what might be fake. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.